Welcome to Sleepy Science. Rivers are hiding something most people never notice. They are not just moving water. They are moving decisions made long ago. Some rivers are still correcting tiny mistakes they made thousands of years back. One grain of sand at a time. In silence. There are places where rivers slow down on purpose, not because the land is flat, but because something beneath them is changing. A river can sense a weak point in the ground before it breaks. It adjusts early, long before anything is visible. People who sit near rivers for long enough report the same strange thing. Thoughts arrive fully formed, then fade without effort. This is not poetry, it is pattern. Subscribe to Sleepy Science. And now, follow the river where it rarely shows itself. Rivers are older than most people imagine. They move, but not because they are in a hurry. They move because they already know where they need to go. Every bend, every turn, every fork has been chosen long before you stood near it. Water seems soft. It seems fragile. But in truth, rivers have memory. They remember paths humans have forgotten. They remember paths carved by storms that no one alive has seen. They remember the shape of mountains that have crumbled into dust. Watching a river is watching a force that has seen time in ways we cannot. It does not rush because rushing is pointless when you already know the ending. A river does not flow for attention. It flows for its own reason. It carries everything along, silently weighing the stones, the soil, and the air above it. A river feels alive because it is alive in a way that we do not notice at first. It reacts without thinking. It adjusts without questioning. You can drop a branch in its path, and the water will bend around it. If the branch falls again in the same spot, it will bend the same way. Rivers learn from small things. They never forget. They remember the tiniest detail and fold it into the way they move. It is not magic. It is persistence and memory, stitched together by water. Some rivers have traveled for thousands of miles. Some began before humans even walked upright. They have been shaped by mountains rising, by glaciers melting, by deserts appearing and vanishing. Yet somehow they have not lost their path. They follow a plan they wrote themselves long ago. This plan is invisible. No human hand has made it. And yet, if you stand at a river's edge, you can feel it. You can sense a kind of order that feels familiar and strange at the same time. You can sense that the water knows more than you do, and it does not care if you notice. When you watch a river, you notice small details. The way the water hesitates at a curve, the way it speeds slightly past a stone, the way it calms before widening into a pool. These are not random movements. Each small action is part of a bigger memory. The river has seen this shape before. It remembers the resistance of every rock it touched. It remembers where the soil was soft and where it was hard. Humans see a flowing body of water, but rivers see themselves in the land. They see the history of every inch they touch. You can watch a river for hours and not guess what it already knows. Rivers have quiet patterns that repeat, but they are never the same twice. You might recognize a curve or the way it slips around a bank and think it is familiar. But even in familiarity, there is difference. Rivers are careful with memory. They do not copy themselves exactly. They fold old paths into new movements. They adjust, yet the adjustment is always linked to what came before. It is as if the river is reading its own history while moving forward. That is why rivers feel different from other forces in nature. Wind moves, fire moves, clouds move, but rivers remember, and memory changes everything. Some scientists have noticed that rivers often act like living organisms. Not in a human way, not in a conscious way, but in a way that shows awareness of their own path. Water molecules pass the same spots repeatedly. Erosion does not just happen, it is guided. Sand is lifted and set down with purpose. Small obstacles are studied and passed, folded into the root as if the river had considered them for centuries. This is not something that can be explained easily. It is a quiet secret of the world, a secret that rivers carry along with them. If you stand on a bridge over a river at night, you can feel it. The sound of water is not just water. It is a long story. It is the memory of mountains crumbling, of storms arriving, of soil settling. It is the memory of everything that has ever touched it. You may hear the same rush as 100 other rivers, but each river carries its own story. And that story is invisible to anyone who does not pay attention. You might think you are looking at water. You are not. You are looking at history flowing quietly. Some rivers seem gentle, almost playful. Others are harsh, forceful, impatient. But the gentlest rivers are often the most deliberate. They have learned patience over thousands of years. They twist around obstacles slowly. They carve stone gradually. They remember the softest parts of the earth and protect them, letting water pass over the harder areas instead. Every movement tells a hidden story. Every ripple carries knowledge you cannot hold. That is why rivers are different. You can watch a river and never get bored because it is not only moving through space, it is moving through memory. Even small rivers have this secret. A stream that seems too tiny to matter still carries centuries of decisions in its path. Each curve, each puddle, each drop of sediment is proof that the water has already chosen how it will flow. Humans rarely notice this. We focus on speed, on size, on brightness. But rivers are quiet teachers. They do not tell you what to notice. They show you without words. If you pay attention, you can see the water adjusting to every little obstacle. You can see the history hidden in each bend. You can feel the river knowing itself. Sometimes rivers surprise humans. They find new paths suddenly, breaking through banks in ways that seem impossible. But the surprise is not random. It is calculated over time. The water senses weakness in the land. It senses opportunity. It moves in a way that makes sense to it alone. Humans cannot predict this fully. No map can. No calculation can capture the river's memory. It flows, it bends, it changes, and yet it is still itself. Watching a river is like watching something that understands what you cannot. Rivers teach without speaking. They remind without announcing. They follow paths we cannot see, yet we feel them in the quiet moments. Your mind may wander while watching a river. Thoughts appear uninvited. Memories surface. Questions arise and vanish. There is a strange clarity in this, a sense that time is moving differently, and that is the first secret rivers hold. They know where they are going, and by watching them, you begin to sense it too. Even when a river reaches the edge of the land, even when it enters a lake or a larger river, its memory does not end. Every drop carries the story of its journey, and every journey was chosen long before humans named it or measured it. If you listen carefully, you might hear the echoes of decisions made thousands of years ago. You might feel the water remembering mountains, forests, and storms that no longer exist. That is the knowing water. That is the secret of rivers. They are alive in memory. And in watching them, we are drawn into that secret quietly, without realizing it. Rivers were here before humans noticed. They carved the world quietly without hurry. The first valleys, the first plains, the first soft curves of the land were drawn by water alone. Mountains resisted, stones hardened, but water found a way. It did not shout. It did not claim. It moved slowly and measured, leaving marks that only patience could make. The edges of continents, the soft indentations in rock, even the small hollows in soil were river secrets. They marked the land before anyone named it. Early life did not know rivers were important. Life gathered where water flowed because water carried food, seeds, and change. Creatures sensed rivers instinctively. They nested along banks not because they understood, but because something in the water drew them. Tiny organisms multiplied near edges where water paused. Life learned quietly to wait. The water had its rhythm. The creatures adapted to it without thinking. The river did not push, but it trained. Each bend, each quiet pool, each small current shaped patterns of growth over centuries. The shape of land follows water, not the other way around. Rivers rarely fight the land. They move around what resists and erase what is soft. Stones are rearranged one by one. Soil is lifted, shifted, and left behind somewhere new. A tiny curve may seem unimportant, but it can change how life moves for hundreds of miles. A small bend can hide a pool that becomes a home. A drop in height can decide which seeds take root. The river does not explain itself. It does not show its logic. And yet, the land obeys. Some rivers disappeared for centuries and returned, carving paths that had never been disturbed before. Even when they vanished, the memory of water remained in the soil. Seeds buried beneath dry earth sprouted where the river would flow again. Creatures learned these cycles. They waited. They adapted. Life that ignored the river did not last long. The river was not cruel. It was patient. And it tested life in quiet ways over time scales humans cannot feel. The river trained everything to measure time differently. The first borders of the world were not lines drawn by rulers or fences. They were edges formed by water. Valleys ended where water could not pass. Plains began where water slowed. Even deserts carried traces of ancient rivers beneath their sands. The river's touch is subtle but lasting. You cannot see it immediately, but it decides where forests rise, where grass grows, where life takes shape. Borders are not made to contain life. They are made by water's passage, and humans only noticed much later. Some rivers are still shaping the earliest marks. Stones, once heavy and unmoving, are turned and polished. Soil is shifted in patterns that look random to the eye, but are carefully orchestrated. The water remembers what it touched centuries ago. It remembers which parts of land resisted the longest. It moves differently where stones are soft, differently where soil is thick. There is a secret intelligence in these movements. Nothing alive thinks about it, but everything is shaped by it. Rivers train life to wait. A plant that grows too fast may be washed away by a sudden current. A fish that moves too quickly may find itself swept into a trap of deeper water. Life learns patience along the banks. Creatures develop instincts that are older than memory. They sense the rhythm of the water. They sense the pauses and the stretches. The river never tells them why. It only moves and life learns to follow. Waiting is not passive near a river. Waiting is survival. Waiting is learning from something older than thought. Even small streams carry the same lessons. Tiny rivulets are like classrooms for life. Insects appear where water pools. Seeds settle where currents slow. Microorganisms flourish where drops fall quietly. Every small flow shapes the environment with deliberate care. A tiny creek may appear insignificant, but it is training life in the same ways that giant rivers do. Patience, timing, understanding resistance, all are taught in silence over and over until creatures are ready for the larger rivers that follow. Rivers do not hurry to reach the ocean. They test every curve, every rock, every slope along the way. In their careful movement, they create habitats that last centuries. Pools form where water hesitates. Edges of land are softened where the current presses lightly. Rocks are rounded where water passes again and again. Each ripple carries memory of past shapes, past events. It is as if the water itself remembers mistakes and tries not to repeat them. Life that notices this memory thrives. Life that ignores it is left behind. Some rivers hide underground, but their influence is just as strong. They carry water beneath mountains, through sand, beneath human cities. The surface may look still, but below, water is shaping land, leaving paths, testing creatures that sense vibrations. Life that listens can find hidden resources. Life that does not notice stays above, exposed, vulnerable. Rivers do not warn. They do not shout. They move quietly and leave traces for those who know how to pay attention. The oldest rivers teach the longest lessons. They have seen the rise and fall of species, the shifting of land, the changing of climates. And yet their patterns are steady. They teach without words, they correct without force. They move in ways that seem small, but the result is enormous. Valleys appear, plains form, pools become home, habitats stretch across continents. The river does not need recognition. It does this naturally. And anyone who notices even a small part of it feels something they cannot name, a sense of history, a sense of quiet order, a sense of being part of something larger than time. If you follow a river long enough, you start noticing these lessons yourself. You notice patience. You notice timing. You notice that small adjustments matter. You notice how life adapts without being told. The river is a teacher older than memory. And if you are quiet enough, you might notice something else. Something the river never says aloud. The way it touches the world is deliberate. The way it moves is knowing. The way it teaches is invisible. And this is the secret life of rivers. Their first marks on the world are not just land, but everything that lives alongside them, learning, waiting, becoming. Time behaves strangely near rivers. It does not move slower in a clock, and yet it feels slower to those who watch the water. Seconds stretch in ways that make no sense. A few minutes beside a river can feel like hours. The current moves forward, steady and unchanging, and the mind begins to follow a rhythm it cannot name. People who spend hours on riverbanks often find thoughts appearing that they could not summon anywhere else. Memories arrive uninvited, questions appear fully formed, answers leave before they are even spoken. Humans behave differently near flowing water. Some sit and stare, unable to leave. Others pace along the edge, counting steps without noticing. Children throw sticks or stones, but their motions are softer, slower. Animals pause, listening to the flow. There is a consistency that cannot be explained by reason. It is almost as if the river imposes its own time on everything around it. And the mind, unwillingly, begins to bend to the same rhythm. Long thoughts appear near rivers because the water holds a kind of patience humans cannot. The river does not rush. It does not question. It moves exactly as it has moved for centuries. Watching it makes humans feel they can afford to do the same. Thoughts that would fade quickly in the city suddenly have room to stretch. They circle around, finding angles and patterns that were invisible before. Problems seem less urgent. Decisions seem less sharp. The water's movement spreads into the mind and it cannot be ignored. Even the way humans speak changes near rivers. Voices drop, sentences are shorter, words are measured. Conversations slow down without effort. People listening to others notice more. They pause between thoughts. They repeat words to themselves. There is a quiet harmony, almost invisible, that flows from water into mind. Those who do not notice feel it anyway, like a pulse that is stronger than air but weaker than wind. The rhythm is subtle but persistent. Time does not just feel slower near rivers. It bends in other ways. A glance at a rippling surface can make someone feel they have been there longer than they actually have. A short walk along a bank can seem endless. Small ripples can appear as patterns, as if the river is replaying events that happened long ago. A leaf floating in the water may remind someone of a day in childhood. A stone in the current may recall a sound of rain years ago. The river collects memory, and it lends some of it to those who linger. People have noticed this for centuries. Travelers in the past wrote about losing track of days beside rivers. Farmers resting on banks noticed that small tasks felt larger and longer. Soldiers moving through river valleys reported a strange calm in their steps. None of this has a clear explanation. It is not temperature or wind. It is not the light or the sounds of animals. It is the water itself. Time seems to slow because the river wants the mind to notice, and the mind, in turn, begins to obey. The consistency of behavior is almost eerie. People drawn to rivers often repeat small gestures. A hand brushes the water in the same spot. A gaze lingers on the same rock. Movements that seem unconscious are repeated over hours. Even those who do not intend to follow a rhythm cannot avoid it. The river imposes it. No human law, no thought can escape the subtle order that moving water creates. There is a quiet intelligence at play, something older than cities, something older than clocks, something that moves even when we do not see it. Time can stretch or compress near rivers depending on how the water moves. A calm river can make hours feel like minutes. A fast, narrow river can make minutes feel like hours. The mind stretches or contracts in response. Thoughts appear, then pause, then continue as if the river itself has whispered a direction. Decisions that seemed urgent in the city become flexible here. The mind relaxes control without realizing it. It slows not because it wants to, but because it is following a force that has known the world longer than humans have. The river does not care if it is noticed. It continues regardless. Yet those who linger feel a connection. A person sitting quietly on the bank may not realize they have begun to think differently. Ideas arrive from angles that were invisible before. Memories surface from places long forgotten. A question asked hours ago may receive an answer without anyone speaking. The river does not push. It only moves, and the mind catches some of its rhythm. Even small rivers have this effect. A creek in the woods can slow thoughts just as much as a wide river in a valley. The width, depth, or length is not what matters. It is the pattern, the movement, the quiet certainty of water knowing where it goes. Tiny ripples, small eddies, shallow pools, all of these create subtle forces on the mind. Humans are not used to noticing such forces. We feel them anyway. Every flowing drop has a secret, and time is the first thing it bends. This is why some people return to rivers repeatedly. Not for fishing, not for walking, not for scenery alone. They return because their own minds begin to follow the flow. Thoughts arrive slower, longer, more carefully. Emotions appear and fade in patterns that match the water. Patience grows without effort. Decisions stretch across hours instead of minutes. And beneath all of it, a quiet curiosity develops. People notice patterns, small mysteries, and unanswered questions. The river teaches without speaking, and those who linger become students without realizing it. Rivers change perception in ways subtle and strange. A stone dropped in water seems lighter. A shadow passing across the bank seems slower. Sounds are elongated. The mind stretches to match. This is not just feeling, it is experience. People report the same thing in rivers across continents. Different cultures, different climates, same results. There is a hidden law in flowing water that humans respond to instinctively. Time slows, thoughts lengthen, awareness stretches. And yet no one fully understands why. The river does not just slow the mind, it reshapes it. Those who watch closely may notice that their thinking patterns are rearranged. Problems seem simpler or more complicated in ways they could not predict. The mind begins to explore connections it ignored before. Random ideas link together naturally. Insights appear with no effort. Memories combine and rearrange. The river teaches by allowing the mind to follow a pattern it cannot yet name. Even when a person leaves the riverbank, the effect remains for a time. Thoughts feel lighter. Decisions seem easier. Curiosity lingers. A sense of connection to something larger remains. It is as if the river's memory, its patience, its flow, has brushed the mind and left a mark. The force is invisible. The effect cannot be measured precisely. Yet it is undeniable to those who have felt it. Time moves differently near rivers, and humans follow whether they want to or not. And so, rivers remain teachers of a secret order. Their movement shapes not only the land but the minds of those who pause to watch. They slow perception. They extend thought. They allow curiosity to appear uninvited. Humans cannot control it, cannot resist it fully. The river flows. Time bends. Minds stretch. The longer you stay, the more you feel the strange consistency of the world itself, quietly aligned with moving water. Beneath our feet, rivers flow in secret. Most people do not notice them. Cities rise above them, streets cover them, and deserts hide them under sand. Yet, water moves in quiet paths below. It has been flowing there for centuries, long before roads or buildings existed. Even when the land above seems still, life moves below in ways we cannot see. Stones shift, soil softens, and tiny currents travel unseen. Something always flows beneath us. These underground rivers follow paths that are older than the cities above. They do not obey human designs. They follow tunnels made by time, carved by pressure, and shaped by patience. Water moves with a purpose no one understands. It turns where the land is weakest. It pauses where the earth resists. It twists and returns like it knows secrets humans have forgotten. Most people walk above them and feel nothing. Yet the ground is alive with movement. Rivers underground carry sediments, minerals, and history. They lift tiny particles from one place and leave them in another. They build hidden caves and tunnels. They create spaces that humans discover only after accidents or digging. Sometimes a collapsed ceiling in a cave reveals a secret waterway. Other times, a spring bursts through a desert floor, surprising travelers who thought the land was dry. Even when invisible, underground rivers are shaping the world. Sound and movement exist below us without notice. If you stand on a quiet street, the city feels calm. But beneath the pavement, water is moving, eroding, reshaping. The sound is muffled, almost lost, but it is there. It is enough to move sand, shift stones, and influence the soil above. Life adapts to these flows in ways humans rarely see. Roots of trees follow the direction of hidden currents. Animals dig or settle near where underground water rises. There is a hidden rhythm that guides them silently. Some underground rivers have been flowing for thousands of years. They disappear and reappear. They run under mountains, deserts, and cities without changing their path. Even when earthquakes shake the ground, these rivers find their way. They are persistent, they are patient, and they are invisible. This gives a strange feeling. The land above seems solid and still, but below, life moves, decisions are made by water, and paths are carved that humans will never fully understand. The presence of underground rivers can be surprising. In cities, pipes and drains often follow the paths already laid by water underground. Some streets sink or tilt because hidden rivers shape the soil beneath. Old wells sometimes discover unexpected flow. Builders stumble upon streams that have been moving unseen for centuries. Rivers below know the path. They do not care about human structures. They move in patterns older than blueprints, older than maps, older than anyone who walks above. Water beneath the surface is not quiet in the same way rivers above are. It pulses, shifts, and changes pressure. It can create sudden collapses in caves. It can form underground lakes that move slowly, almost frozen. Sometimes the movement is so subtle that it is measured in millimeters a year. Other times, it can break through with sudden power. Humans do not usually witness these flows, but they are real. Life above reacts to them without knowing why. Trees lean, roots twist, animals burrow. The invisible river touches the world above in small ways. Deserts hide rivers that never appear on the surface. Water travels under dunes, carving paths below dry sand. Travelers rarely notice until a well or oasis appears. Even then, the water has been moving long before humans arrived. These rivers can travel for miles unseen. They can meet other hidden streams and join forces underground. The movement is quiet, patient, unstoppable. It reminds anyone who discovers it that life flows in hidden ways, often unnoticed, often mysterious. Some rivers underground move faster than they appear. Narrow tunnels, high pressure, and smooth rock allow water to accelerate silently. Above, the ground may look empty and still. Yet below, currents rush. They shape stones, carry minerals, and even influence surface water that appears later. A river that runs underground may feed a stream miles away, arriving with knowledge of the land it passed through, quietly influencing life along the way. The human mind is drawn to these hidden movements, even without seeing them. There is a strange pull when standing on land above a hidden river. People feel it without naming it. Some pause, some adjust their steps. Trees grow differently above hidden flows. Seeds germinate differently. Life responds. The river below is alive with motion, shaping decisions, shaping movement, shaping the world above without anyone noticing. Some underground rivers have secrets older than time measured by humans. Minerals that were deposited millennia ago still move slowly. Stones carved by water long gone continue to shift. Even when the water seems still, memory of its movement remains. A hidden river does not forget where it has been. Every bend, every rock, every soft patch is remembered. When water returns, it flows with the knowledge of centuries. Life above cannot see it, but it follows the invisible guide. Sometimes, water emerges from underground in unexpected ways. A spring bursts through rock. A stream appears where there was none. The sudden arrival seems impossible, but the river has been moving in secret. It has been planning its path patiently, shaping soil, waiting for the moment to reveal itself. Humans are often startled, but the river is calm. It has not changed. It has only been waiting. Its movement beneath the surface is a quiet proof of persistence, intelligence, and unseen design. Even when humans block rivers, build roads, or construct tunnels, underground water finds a way. It bends around, escapes through cracks, moves beneath structures. The path is unseen, but the effect is real. Settlements above may notice sinking roads, shifting foundations, or springs appearing unexpectedly. The river moves silently, teaching persistence without speaking. It does not hurry. It does not complain. It simply follows a plan humans cannot see. Hidden rivers remind us that the world has layers we rarely notice. Movement continues even when the surface is calm. Decisions, patterns, and shifts occur below without our awareness. Life above responds instinctively. Roots grow toward moisture. Burrowing creatures follow vibrations. Trees lean. Soil compresses. Small ripples appear in lakes connected to underground flow. The hidden river touches the world above invisibly, like a secret pulse beneath reality. Some underground rivers carry water from far away. A drop of rain in one place may travel for miles underground before reaching a spring. Along the way, it shapes rock, carries minerals, and influences life. The journey is long and hidden but precise. The river remembers. It moves with a memory that humans cannot match. And yet, when it appears at the surface, the land reacts immediately, as if remembering itself. Something always flows beneath us. It moves whether we notice or not. It shapes, remembers, tests, and guides. Life responds to it even when it cannot see it. Streets, cities, deserts, forests, they all feel the influence of hidden rivers. The effect is subtle but powerful. The water below continues to move silently, endlessly, following patterns older than humans, older than memory, older than time itself. Rivers do not forget obstacles. A rock in the middle of a current is not a mistake. A fallen tree is not a problem. Every interruption is remembered. Water flows around, over, or under it, and then continues. But it carries the memory of the encounter with it. Stones are polished where water presses. Soil is shifted where the current pushes. Obstacles are folded into the river's path, not erased. They become part of the movement, not a break from it. When a river meets a barrier, it does not resist blindly. It curves, it bends, it splits, creating branches that may rejoin later. Every change is precise, measured by centuries of movement. Water never forgets the strength of a stone. It remembers which banks were soft and which were hard. It remembers which curves slowed it and which allowed it to speed. A river's path is not random. It is history in motion. Each obstacle is a teacher, and the water is the student that never stops learning. Erosion is not a violent process when observed slowly. At first, it seems harsh. Rocks are worn down, soil disappears, banks crumble. But if you watch carefully over time, it is deliberate. Water tests the obstacle. It measures resistance. It pushes lightly, then more strongly, then pauses. Slowly, the river transforms everything in its way. What seems like destruction is actually shaping. Resistance teaches direction. Stones become smoother, soil becomes fertile, bends form that guide the flow. Obstacles are not erased, they are incorporated. Some rivers divide when they meet obstacles. A single stream splits into multiple channels, each testing a different path. Some paths fail, returning water to the main flow. Others succeed, becoming permanent branches. The river remembers which path was successful. Even decades later, the water follows the memory of the obstacle it met long ago. The split is not chaotic. It is a response to challenge, learned and recorded in every drop. The river adapts, yet remains itself. Even fallen trees, debris, or sediment build new paths. The river does not stop because of them. It flows around, over, or through. And in doing so, it reshapes the land. Pools form behind rocks, creating spaces for life to grow. Currents accelerate around obstacles, polishing stones and carving channels. The river's memory grows with every encounter. Obstacles are not interruptions. They are part of the story, woven into the flow, teaching the water how to move in the future. Sometimes rivers return to old obstacles. Water that has passed a rock once may curve around it differently later. The river remembers how the stone affected its speed, its pressure, and its path. This knowledge changes how the current meets it again. A river is not rigid. It adjusts, learning from every encounter. Humans rarely notice this subtle intelligence. We see water flowing but do not see the history carried in every bend. The river is patient. It waits. It remembers. Rivers also carry lessons in resilience. When an obstacle forces the water to split, some branches may dry, some may erode quickly, and others may become permanent channels. Life adapts to these changes. Fish find new routes. Plants grow in areas previously dry. Sediment forms fertile ground. Every challenge the river encounters is folded into the environment, creating new spaces for life to thrive. Resistance does not stop the river, it teaches it. It teaches the land. It teaches everything nearby. Even a small rock in a tiny stream can leave a lasting impression. The water flows over it differently every time. Patterns emerge in the way ripples spread. Stones downstream are nudged. Sediment shifts. Tiny creatures adapt to the new movement. The obstacle becomes part of a quiet order. Nothing is wasted. Every challenge leaves a mark. Every resistance shapes the river and everything it touches. Watching a river carefully, you realize it is a record of every encounter it has ever had. Some rivers meet massive obstacles. Mountains, cliffs, or landslides block the path. Yet the river continues. It divides. It twists. It finds weaknesses in the barrier. It tests the ground. Slowly, over decades or centuries, it shapes the obstacle itself. Stone is carved, soil is moved, new channels appear. The water remembers every inch. Even if the obstacle is immense, the river does not forget. It carries its memory forward, shaping the world silently, persistently, inevitably. Obstacles also teach subtle patience. Water slows when it meets resistance. It spreads, pooling briefly before finding a new route. This pause is not random. The river senses the barrier and adapts. It does not force. It waits. The pause allows sediment to settle, stones to shift, and banks to reshape. Life nearby adjusts. Plants germinate in calm pools. Fish learn to navigate the slower current. Resistance becomes a teacher of rhythm, timing, and space. The river never stops learning. Even human-made obstacles cannot erase a river's memory. Dams, roads, or canals alter its path temporarily. Yet water finds hidden routes, bypassing the obstruction. It remembers previous encounters with resistance and incorporates them into new paths. The memory of natural obstacles remains. The river continues its lessons, quietly showing that adaptation is not only possible but inevitable. Every barrier teaches something essential about direction and persistence. The way rivers handle obstacles is a kind of silent intelligence. Stones, fallen branches, soil, cliffs, they are all examined, tested, and remembered. The river does not rush. It does not panic. It moves with an awareness that seems invisible but is persistent. Every drop carries experience. Every current carries knowledge. The land itself begins to take shape around this wisdom. Obstacles are not failures. They are opportunities for growth, for learning, for direction. Some rivers encounter obstacles repeatedly. They curve around the same stone for years, adjusting slightly each time. A bend becomes sharper or softer. Erosion shifts soil in one place, strengthens it in another. Rocks are polished slowly, consistently. Each encounter leaves a record. Even after the obstacle is gone, the water behaves as if it remembers. The river is not just moving. It is thinking quietly without words. Every obstacle teaches something, and the water never forgets. By watching rivers over time, you notice this invisible order. Currents adjust, splits form and recombine, pools emerge and vanish. Resistance is not a pause, it is a guide. The river records every touch, every bend, every change. It is a living map of challenges it has overcome. Life nearby follows its guidance, adapting in harmony with its lessons. The river is persistent, patient, and deliberate. It never forgets, and everything it touches carries proof of that memory. There are moments when a river appears quiet, almost still. The surface seems calm, almost like glass. If you listen carefully, you might think there is nothing happening, but the river is never truly silent. Beneath the smooth surface, currents move, stones shift, and tiny eddies form. Water is always alive, always moving, even when it seems not to. Silence near a river is not emptiness. It is full, heavy with hidden motion. Humans think of silence as absence. A quiet room, a paused conversation, a still day, they all feel empty. Rivers do not work this way. Their silence is presence. The pause between ripples, the calm around a bend, the space behind a submerged stone, all of it carries energy. There is movement that cannot be seen. There is memory that cannot be touched. Even without sound, the river speaks. Its language is subtle, hidden, and older than words. The sound of water is only part of its message. A rush, a splash, a ripple, these are obvious, but the quiet moments between sounds hold more. They are like punctuation in a sentence. They give space to thought. They make the mind notice things it might otherwise miss. When humans sit near rivers, we are drawn into these spaces. Thoughts appear slowly. Memories arrive in fragments. Questions form without urgency. The silence teaches in ways we cannot name. There is a difference between human silence and water silence. When humans are silent, we often feel tension. Our minds search for noise. We notice emptiness. But the river's silence is different. It is active. It holds movement. It contains patterns that are ongoing, unseen, but very real. Even when no sound reaches your ears, water is shaping, carrying, remembering. Life near the river learns to understand this silence instinctively. Birds pause before landing. Fish adjust their path. Trees lean toward the current without being told. The pauses in rivers are never random. A calm stretch before a bend, a quiet pool behind a stone, a slow eddy at the base of a cliff, all are deliberate in their effect. The river is measuring itself, testing the land, and carrying memory forward. These silences allow water to respond to the environment. They allow the river to hold knowledge of obstacles, changes in terrain, and past flows. The quiet is not empty, it is filled with unseen purpose. Sometimes humans sit on riverbanks and notice the quiet without understanding it. A few minutes pass, then hours. Thoughts arrive fully formed. Memories surface that seemed forgotten. Emotions appear in patterns that mirror the water's subtle movements. The river is not pushing. It is merely present. The silence carries something invisible, something the mind cannot measure but can feel. It is as if the water is speaking without sound. Rivers often hide these messages in small patterns. A tiny ripple in a calm pool may signal the path of an obstacle beneath. A still patch of water may hide a faster current below. The space between sounds contains history. It records interactions with stones, trees, soil, and even animals. To the casual observer, it looks empty. To those who watch carefully, it is full of knowledge. The river speaks in timing, in absence, and in rhythm. Silence is its vocabulary. Even in the loudest rivers, there are moments of hidden quiet. The sound of rushing water does not erase the subtle messages hidden in slower flows beneath the surface. Currents shift, sediment moves, stones are polished, energy is carried in ways humans cannot always detect. The mind may be distracted by the obvious noise, but beneath it all, the river whispers. Silence is the secret channel of understanding. Small rivers are no different. A stream that appears silent during midday still carries memory and movement. Tiny ripples may form and vanish. Stones are shifted millimeter by millimeter. Roots are shaped by hidden currents. Animals follow patterns dictated by the quiet of the water. Even without sound, the river teaches persistence, timing, and attention. Its silence holds purpose, and humans respond to it unconsciously. There is something unsettling about river silence. It feels alive. It moves even when it seems still. Humans instinctively notice that the quiet is not emptiness. The mind senses depth, presence, and continuity. A calm pool is not just calm. It is carrying knowledge of stones upstream, debris from centuries ago, minerals from distant sources. The river does not forget. Its silence is filled with the memory of every bend, every rock, every shift in terrain. Sometimes silence can feel like a question. A quiet stretch may make a human pause longer than intended. Thoughts appear suddenly and then vanish. You may notice connections you cannot explain. Emotions surface that seem unprovoked. The river is not causing these things directly. It is simply present, holding a quiet order that the mind bends toward. Silence is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and invisible. The pauses in water are also protective. Calm stretches allow sediment to settle. Pools form for life to rest. Currents slow to prevent erosion in critical areas. Even stones are spared from harsh force temporarily. The river uses silence to maintain balance. Every quiet moment is a plan executed slowly. The movement that continues invisibly is part of a larger order. Life nearby adapts, unconsciously learning timing, patience, and responsiveness. Even underground rivers have their silences. The sound never reaches the surface, but the effect does. Soil compresses, roots grow differently, small animals find safe paths. Hidden currents are quiet but real. Their pauses are filled with purpose. Rivers below the surface speak without sound, just as rivers above do. Life reacts instinctively, guided by invisible signals carried through water and land. The most remarkable thing about river silence is its persistence. A quiet moment may last seconds, or it may last for miles along the river. Each moment is connected to the next. The water remembers where it was, how it moved, and how obstacles changed it. The pause is never wasted. It carries lessons, history, and subtle guidance. The mind that lingers near such silence begins to notice patterns it cannot fully explain. Silence along a river is a teacher. It shows timing, patience, and memory without speaking. It demonstrates that presence does not need noise to communicate. Life nearby follows. Humans who observe may sense the river's order without naming it. The quiet stretches contain everything the rushing water cannot show openly. They hold history, intelligence, and movement, waiting for attention. Something always moves in the quiet. Stones shift slowly. Currents flow beneath the surface. Sediment travels. Roots follow hidden moisture. Even without sound, water carries energy, memory, and subtle instructions for life. Humans may sit and notice nothing, yet feel an invisible order pulling at thoughts and feelings. Silence is never empty. It is full, and it speaks in ways the mind slowly begins to understand. The river teaches patience through silence. It teaches memory through absence. It teaches observation through the hidden rhythm between sounds. Humans who linger beside it long enough begin to notice the difference between stillness that is empty and stillness that is full. The quiet moments are filled with intention, guidance, and history. They are a secret language older than speech. And if you are patient enough to notice, the river will speak to you without sound. At night, rivers change. The water darkens, reflecting shadows instead of sunlight. Surface ripples seem slower, deeper, and heavier. Stones beneath appear black, and currents become harder to read. The river is still moving, but it moves in a hidden way. It works quietly when humans are asleep or when eyes cannot see. There is more happening than what can be noticed in the daylight. Animals sense rivers in ways humans often miss. Nocturnal creatures follow the flow. Owls perch nearby, listening to subtle sounds of movement. Fish rise closer to the surface, guided by unseen currents. Small mammals navigate along banks, following hidden paths carved over centuries. Even insects know the edges and quiet corners where water lingers. The river guides them without sound, without obvious instruction. It moves for them as much as for itself. Humans feel the river differently at night. The darkness hides details but emphasizes presence. Walking beside it, the mind notices shadows, patterns, and smells. Water feels colder, more alive. The usual sounds of day, the calls of birds, the rustle of leaves, are softer, revealing small noises of flowing water, submerged stones, and moving sediment. The river seems larger at night, as if it expands beyond visible boundaries. Its work continues unseen. Some rivers carry more water at night because of unseen factors. Snow melting in mountains, distant rainfall, or underground currents feeding them quietly increase their flow. Humans rarely notice these changes until morning. At night, the river is a secret worker. It carries sediment, polishes stones, and reshapes banks in silence. Currents that appear slow on the surface may hide deeper energy below. Life reacts instinctively, adjusting to forces invisible to human eyes. The darkness adds a strange depth. Water seems heavier, yet lighter. Shadows stretch across ripples, making currents appear slower or faster than they are. Stones feel like sentinels, standing in the current. Each bend of the river carries more mystery. Humans feel drawn to the water but also cautious. Something about rivers at night feels older, wiser, as if the water knows secrets the land above cannot see. Rivers do more work when unseen. The surface may look still, but the river is reshaping itself and the world around it. Stones are shifted. Sediment travels quietly. Banks erode just enough to prepare new paths. Pools deepen. Channels widen or narrow. Even fallen trees and branches are rearranged slowly, tested by currents, and incorporated into the flow. Everything happens with patience and precision, invisible to those who sleep or watch from afar. The darkness changes perception. Humans often overestimate or underestimate the river's speed. Shapes appear where there are none. Sounds echo differently. Ripples seem sharper, stones seem darker. Yet the river moves the same way it always has. Its memory of obstacles, past floods, and hidden paths remains. Night only adds mystery. The river continues its work quietly, without needing recognition. Some nocturnal animals rely on rivers as guides. Bats follow insects that gather near water. Owls listen for prey near quiet pools. Fish and amphibians move into shallow water under the cover of darkness. Even humans notice subtle changes. The air above the river feels different, cooler, heavier, carrying scents of wet earth and water. Life senses the river's invisible hand, and it adapts. The river's work at night supports life without drawing attention. Reflections change in the darkness too. Moonlight may illuminate only parts of the river, leaving others hidden. Shadows obscure stones and submerged plants. Light bends differently on moving water, making currents appear uncertain. But the river is certain. Every hidden current, every submerged obstacle, every flowing particle is accounted for. Night does not stop the river. It only hides its actions, making the work invisible, mysterious, and powerful. Even rivers in cities behave differently at night. Concrete channels, bridges, and pipes obscure human view during the day, but at night, shadows reveal hidden movement. Water continues to flow, carrying debris, reshaping surfaces, and influencing nearby plants and animals. Underground rivers feeding surface streams continue silently, redistributing energy and resources. The human eye misses much, but the river does not pause. Its memory and action remain constant. Some rivers become louder at night. Silence in surrounding areas highlights subtle sounds, the slap of water against a rock, the pull of a current under a log, the faint movement of sediment. These small noises may feel amplified in darkness. Humans perceive them as mysterious, sometimes unsettling. Yet the river is only doing what it always does, moving with knowledge, patience, and purpose. Its work is invisible but tangible in effect. Time feels different near rivers at night. The darkness slows perception. Humans sense more because fewer distractions exist. The mind notices ripples, reflections, and movement beneath the surface. Thoughts lengthen, questions appear, and curiosity grows. This effect is subtle but real. Rivers guide the mind as much as the land. Night amplifies the hidden work of water, revealing patterns humans may only guess at during the day. The river teaches persistence through darkness. Obstacles that seemed insurmountable in daylight are tested at night. Currents find hidden paths around rocks, fallen branches, or soil that resists erosion. Sediment rearranges slowly. Pools form where needed. Life adapts quietly. Even without sight, the river continues its work, testing, shaping, remembering. Its persistence is constant, regardless of human observation. Some rivers hold secrets that are only visible at night. Bioluminescent algae or tiny aquatic insects glow faintly in certain waters, revealing hidden movement. Stones submerged in shallow pools may appear alive under moonlight. Flowing water may reveal shapes, shadows, and patterns that vanish by day. Humans who witness these subtle changes sense something beyond understanding. The river is both visible and invisible, seen and unseen, known and unknowable. Even in complete darkness, rivers maintain memory. Past floods, storms, and erosion shape currents and flow patterns. Stones remember where they were moved. Sediment remembers where it settled. The path of the river, although unseen, continues to influence every inch of land along its banks. Night hides the river's work but does not stop it. Currents move, life adapts, and water continues silently, purposefully. There is a quiet intelligence in rivers at night. They flow as they always have, guided by memory, obstacles, and unseen forces. Water shapes the land, supports life, and carries knowledge. Humans may see only shadows and hear faint ripples, but the river is never idle. Its work continues, unseen but real. Night adds mystery, depth, and presence. The river is alive, aware, and quietly active, reminding anyone watching that something always flows, even when hidden from view. Rivers at night invite observation. They show that work can happen without recognition, that movement does not require attention, and that patterns exist even when unseen. They guide life, adapt to obstacles, and remember their paths. Darkness reveals the quiet power of water, its intelligence and its persistence. And for those who pause, there is a sense of connection to something much older, much wiser, and much deeper than the world visible in daylight. Rivers slow down in certain places. Wide plains, bends, and deltas change the pace of water. It is not because the river is tired. It is not because the water forgets its path. Slowing is part of the river's work. Currents stretch, widen, and twist. Flow becomes calmer. Ripples lengthen. Yet beneath this quiet, the river is still moving. Nothing stops. Even when water appears gentle, it is thinking in its own way. Sediment carried for miles begins to settle. Stones, sand, and minerals float briefly, then sink. Every particle is a memory. Rocks once carved by mountain streams are carried slowly to new homes. Soil from distant valleys arrives quietly. Each piece of sediment tells a story. The river releases these memories with patience. Slowing allows the past to reach the present. Water is not just moving forward. It is sharing what it has learned along the way. Bends in rivers are more than curves. They are places where the river pauses, considers, and tests. Currents push against the banks, then pull back. Stones are polished, plants bend to the flow, and animals adjust their paths. The river is aware of what surrounds it. Slowing is not weakness. It is calculation, a kind of thinking without consciousness. The river adjusts its energy, measures depth, and allows life to adapt. Deltas are the river's signature of patience. Water spreads across wide plains, dividing into smaller channels. Sediment is deposited gradually, forming islands, marshes, and new land. Life flourishes in these areas. Fish spawn in shallow waters. Birds nest along the edges. Trees grow where soil is richest. Slowing gives the river time to shape not only the land but everything living on it. Each calm stretch is an act of creation, quiet and deliberate. Even small rivers show this behavior. A gentle bend can stretch for miles, allowing sediment to settle and banks to strengthen. Fish find hiding spots. Frogs and insects adjust to the slower pace. Water reflects the sky differently. Currents fold over themselves. The river seems to think, testing possibilities before moving ahead. Slowing is an act of intelligence, subtle and hidden, only visible to those who observe carefully. Humans often misinterpret slowing water as stillness. Calm stretches seem passive, but the river is active in quiet ways. Stones are rearranged, small channels formed, and nutrients released for nearby life. Currents beneath the surface move faster than the eye can see. Even when water appears gentle, pressure builds, testing obstacles and shaping soil. Slowing is a pause, not an absence. It is a way to store energy, to prepare for movement, to release memory at the right moment. Bends create patterns in water. Ripples, eddies, and swirls form around stones and submerged roots. Currents collide and merge, forming shapes that disappear in seconds. This movement carries information. Sediment is sorted. Small stones are polished. Organic matter is deposited where it can nourish life. The river is reading its surroundings, adjusting without words, and passing on lessons in every particle it carries. Slowing allows observation, calculation, and quiet organization. Wide plains show the river's ability to spread thought. Flow becomes shallow, slow, and complex. Water separates into multiple channels. Some channels dry, some carry more water. Sediment is distributed carefully, forming natural patterns. Animals and plants notice these changes. Birds nest on new islands. Fish explore calm pools. Even humans feel the difference. The river slows, not because it must, but because this is the most efficient way to continue its work. Floodplains are part of the slowing process. Water spills over banks during heavy rain or snowmelt. Sediment is deposited, enriching soil and creating new habitats. Slower currents allow seeds to settle, roots to grow, and small life forms to thrive. The river teaches patience. It reminds life that movement does not always mean speed. Pausing allows adaptation, growth, and reflection. Slowing is an act of creation and intelligence. Even meanders, the long, twisting bends of rivers, show deliberate slowing. Currents push on outer banks, eroding them slowly. Inner banks gain sediment. The river shapes itself gradually, balancing energy and resistance. Fish swim along the calmer inner side. while stronger currents carry nutrients and sediment along the outer curve. Life learns from these patterns. Slowing is a quiet teacher, showing adaptation, balance, and foresight without speaking. Rivers slow when they meet obstacles as well. Large stones, fallen trees, or soft soil can create pockets of quiet. Currents swirl around these obstacles, testing multiple paths. Sediment settles, roots grow, small animals find shelter. The water is active in these pauses, shaping the environment with subtle force. Slowing allows reflection on obstacles, testing possibilities, and preparing for the next stretch. Even underground rivers slow in hidden chambers. Pools form where water meets resistance. Sediment settles quietly. The river remembers the obstacle and adjusts future flows. Life around underground rivers follows the slow pulse, even without human observation. Slowing is a signal, a hidden language, a careful release of memory and energy. Humans can learn from slowing rivers. Observing quiet stretches teaches patience and attention. Stones, sediment, and currents reveal history and movement. The river's work is ongoing, even in stillness. Its slowing is not rest. It is deliberate. The river releases what it carries in measured ways. Slowing is a form of thought, memory, and preparation. Slower water carries secrets. Small currents shape soil, deposit minerals, and form pools for life. Reflection appears on the surface like a mirror. Animals adapt. Plants grow in perfect conditions. Even humans notice patterns, connections, and timing. The river's intelligence becomes visible through the way it slows. This quiet observation is a lesson in persistence, memory, and patience. Sediment is like a message in slow motion. Water releases what it has collected, telling a story of mountains, forests, valleys, and deserts. Stones remember where they were moved. Soil carries nutrients from distant places. Each particle is a fragment of history. Slowing allows the river to pass on these messages, sharing knowledge with life around it. It is a quiet act of storytelling, without sound, without words, but full of meaning. Even in urban areas, rivers slow down when reaching wider channels or deltas. Concrete and bridges cannot stop the water from spreading, pooling, and releasing sediment. Life finds new spaces. Fish, birds, and insects adapt to slower currents. Humans notice reflections, gentle ripples, and calmer surfaces. The river continues its intelligence, showing that slowing is part of ongoing work, not weakness or hesitation. The river's slowing is a form of thinking. It measures obstacles, tests paths, releases memory, and prepares for what comes next. Currents adjust, sediment settles, banks reshape, life adapts. The water is always learning, always teaching, always carrying the past into the present. Calm stretches are filled with purpose. Every pause is a message, every quiet channel a secret, every reflection a sign of intelligence. Slowing does not mean stopping. Rivers show that patience and reflection are part of action. Every bend, delta, plain, or slow stretch carries lessons for life. Currents continue beneath calm surfaces. Sediment tells stories. Animals, plants, and humans respond. Slowing is the river's way of thinking, moving, and shaping the world without noise or urgency. It is a quiet, deliberate, and endless process. Humans have always followed rivers. Cities appear beside them, settlements grow along their banks, and civilizations flourish where water flows. Rivers offer life, drinking water, food, and routes for travel. Yet, rivers have their own plans. They do not bend completely to human will. Empires rise, walls are built, roads cross currents, but the river continues, quietly shaping the land beneath and beyond. Water always waits longer than people. Some of the oldest cities exist only because of rivers. Ancient civilizations formed along great waterways. They thrived, built monuments, and faded, but the river remained. It remembers every stone placed along its edge, every canal dug, every levee attempted. When floods came, the river tested human work. Some survived, some were destroyed. The water does not hurry. It does not punish. It simply follows its own course, outlasting what humans think is permanent. Humans try to control rivers, and they often fail. Dams hold back water temporarily, but rivers find ways to continue. Channels are dug, levees built, banks reinforced. The river adjusts slowly over months, years, decades. Water does not forget the original path. It returns to it when the human constructions weaken. Roads may collapse, bridges may fall, and fields may be washed away. Humans react, repair, and rebuild, but the river waits. It outlasts plans and empires with patience and quiet power. Settlements rise along the riverbanks, drawn by life and opportunity. People do not fully understand why rivers feel alive, guiding growth. Fertile soil from annual floods nourishes crops. Fish provide food. Water routes allow trade and movement. Yet the river is not passive. It carries sediment, reshapes channels, and responds to human activity. A city may appear permanent, but the water always knows time differently. It remembers every alteration, every deviation, every attempt to force its flow. Floods are the river's quiet reminder. Water spills over banks, carrying sediment and debris, reshaping life along its path. Humans may feel panic, but the river does not hurry. It simply follows gravity and memory. It moves slowly, steadily, outlasting human planning. Streets, walls, and fields may be submerged, but the river does not destroy out of malice. It merely waits, flowing according to its own rhythm, outlasting the fragile constructs of human life. Some cities have moved entirely because of rivers. A river may shift its course naturally, carving a new path, leaving old towns behind. Civilization may abandon a settlement and rebuild closer to the water's new edge. The river does not rush. It simply reshapes the land gradually, quietly, persistently. Humans may notice only when the change becomes unavoidable, but the water has been planning this course for decades, centuries, or longer. Even small rivers shape settlements. Villages form near springs or tributaries. Roads follow river edges. Mills are built where currents are strongest. Every human intervention changes water flow slightly. Trees are planted to control banks. Rocks are piled to guide channels. Yet the river adapts. Currents find weak spots. Water seeps through soil, moves underground, or carves new channels. The river remembers all human work and responds slowly but inevitably. Water waits longer than people. History shows rivers outlast empires. Civilizations may crumble under war, famine, or neglect, yet rivers continue to flow along ancient paths. Archaeologists find traces of old canals, stone walls, and levees, but water has erased and rewritten the landscape in subtle ways. Sediment holds memory. The river carries history quietly, reshaping the land in ways humans cannot undo. What is permanent to humans is temporary for water. Rivers influence human behavior unconsciously. People settle near bends, islands, or wide plains without naming the reason. Currents shape where humans can build, fish, or plant. Water teaches adaptation. Humans respond instinctively to risks of flooding, erosion, and seasonal changes. Yet no plan lasts forever. The river's slow memory outlasts human memory. Roads, bridges, and towns are temporary. Water remembers, and eventually it restores or rearranges the land. Human attempts to block rivers are never fully successful. Dams may hold water, but pressure builds over time. Sediment clogs or opens new channels. Levees break. Floodplains refill. Water finds cracks and weak points. Even underground currents adjust and continue. The river's intelligence is hidden but persistent. It waits patiently, knowing that human structures cannot match its memory or persistence. Water always waits longer than people. Some rivers create new land while humans sleep. Sediment is deposited at deltas, forming fertile soil and islands. Cities grow nearby, unaware of the quiet work beneath. Currents carve channels and reshape banks. Trees take root. Fish explore shallow pools. Life follows the river's subtle instructions. Humans may notice these changes slowly, but the water has already moved forward. The river's work is quiet, continuous, and invisible, yet undeniable in effect. Trade and travel depend on rivers, yet water always holds control. Boats, ferries, and ships move according to currents. Even when humans build ports or canals, the river's memory guides water and sediment. Shallow areas may appear unexpectedly. Currents change over time. The river does not obey human schedules. It teaches patience, observation, and respect, reminding people that control is temporary and flow is eternal. Some cities are abandoned entirely when rivers change course. Ancient towns once thriving on riverbanks may now be miles from water. Streets crack, walls crumble, wells dry. Sediment covers old foundations. Life adjusts. New settlements form closer to water's edge. The river never rushes or complains. It moves with quiet intelligence, reshaping land, distributing memory, and waiting longer than people can plan. Human attempts to dominate rivers are always temporary. Levees may hold, dams may rise, canals may redirect. Yet the river remembers previous paths, sediment deposits, and natural flow patterns. Water returns to its old course slowly, quietly, with no warning. Floods remind people of their limits. Banks erode under unseen pressure. Water reclaims what humans have tried to control. The river waits patiently, knowing that time favors memory, not power. Even today, cities continue to respond to rivers. Urban planning, roads, and bridges must follow currents. Flood management, reservoirs, and channels only slow water temporarily. The river's memory, built over centuries, guides human adaptation. Water teaches history in ways people may not see. It remembers patterns of erosion, deposition, and flow that humans cannot fully control. Even empires with advanced engineering cannot match the river's quiet persistence. Rivers outlast humans because they measure time differently. Water does not think in years or decades. It works in centuries, millennia, and longer. A flood may erase a city, but sediment deposits carry history forward. Currents follow memory, not urgency. Life adjusts. Humans rebuild. Water waits. Its quiet patience shows that control is temporary, influence is limited, and the natural world endures. The river is older than empires, older than nations, older than most structures. It outlasts humans because it never forgets. Water always waits longer than people. It teaches resilience through persistence. It reshapes land silently. It carries memory in sediment and currents. It influences life without commanding attention. Empires may rise and fall, settlements may be abandoned, and humans may try to control it, but the river continues on its path, quietly powerful and infinitely patient. Observing a river is to see time differently, to witness patience, and to feel the quiet force that outlasts all human planning. Some rivers disappear, not completely, but for stretches of land or seasons. water vanishes from sight. Dry riverbeds stretch across plains and valleys, empty yet strangely alive. At first glance they seem dead. Nothing flows, nothing moves, but absence is an illusion. The river remembers its path. Its memory is pressed into soil, rocks, and sediment. Life continues to respond, even without water on the surface. Seasonal rivers teach patience in ways humans rarely notice. Rainfall fills channels for weeks or months, and then the flow retreats. The land may appear abandoned, cracked, or barren, yet beneath the surface moisture remains. Roots hold onto hidden streams. Small animals hide in damp pockets. Seeds lie ready to sprout when water returns. The river has not left. It is only waiting, shaping movement and life in ways invisible to human eyes. Even dry riverbeds guide paths. Travelers, animals, and humans all follow these channels instinctively. Paths are carved through centuries of water, and memory of flow remains. Rocks are smoothed, banks are slightly lower than surrounding land, and soil compacts where water once pressed. Life notices the subtle differences. Plants grow in these grooves. Animals find shelter. Movement follows the remembered course of water, even when the surface appears empty. The illusion of absence is powerful. Humans look for signs of water and see none. Yet the river continues to influence the land. Sediment deposited in wet months nourishes soil for months after the flow stops. Insects burrow into moist earth. Seeds germinate slowly. Even underground, small currents carry energy forward, shaping life quietly. Dry does not mean empty. It is simply another phase of the river's existence. Sometimes, the river disappears completely for years. Human observers may think it has vanished forever. Yet the bed remains. The curve of the land, the placement of stones, and the compacted soil all carry memory. When rain returns or snow melts, water follows the old path instinctively. Life that adapted during absence resumes normal patterns. The river's influence is continuous, even if humans cannot always see it. Dry rivers reveal the hidden intelligence of water. The absence allows sediment to settle, banks to strengthen, and roots to expand. The river prepares for its return. Pools of moisture may linger underground, feeding plants and small creatures. The river is still teaching, guiding, and influencing. Absence is temporary. Water will return, often following the path it has carried for centuries. Some rivers vanish under heat and sun. Surface water disappears, leaving dust and sand, but the river continues underground. Subterranean currents move slowly, unseen, carrying sediment and minerals. Life adapts around these hidden flows. Plants grow roots deep into the soil. Small animals dig tunnels. Even humans may follow the faint curve of the dry bed, unaware of the secret water beneath. The river works quietly, shaping life without attention. The memory of water is pressed into the landscape. Stones remember where they were polished. Soil carries nutrients distributed when flow was stronger. Vegetation patterns follow the subtle curves of the riverbed. Even after surface water is gone, these marks remain. Dry rivers hold history. Life responds to this hidden structure, moving, growing, and surviving according to invisible signals. Human settlements often form near dry riverbeds. Ancient towns, villages, and roads follow channels that only fill part of the year. Even when empty, the land shows the path of water. People may dig wells or build reservoirs along the old bed, trusting the memory of the river. Animals follow the same instinct. The absence of water does not stop influence. It simply changes the form, allowing preparation for the return. Rivers that disappear teach resilience. Life near them must wait, adapt, and observe. Trees bend to seasonal water, roots extend to hidden moisture, and animals store food for dry periods. When water returns, growth accelerates. Seeds sprout, animals return, and the river resumes its work. Absence is a pause, not an end. It is part of a cycle, and the river's intelligence uses this pause to shape life and land in subtle ways. Even rivers that vanish for decades leave lasting impact. The bed becomes part of the land's memory. Future floods follow the same course, guided by rocks, soil, and subtle depressions. Life remembers where water has been. Plants sprout along old banks. Animals nest in familiar pockets. Humans often rebuild near these channels, relying on the hidden wisdom of water. The river's absence never means irrelevance. Its work continues invisibly. Some dry rivers create unique landscapes. Sandbars, terraces, and low plains form where currents once shaped the flow. Life adapts to these forms, using shallow soil, exposed rocks, and pools that remain after water retreats. Even without visible water, rivers guide patterns of movement. Paths for animals, humans, and even wind and rain are dictated by the old current. Absence is a subtle force, shaping existence without attention. The river's disappearance also encourages patience. Life learns to wait for the water's return. Seeds remain dormant. Animals adjust behavior. Soil absorbs energy and nutrients for months until water reappears. Humans often struggle with the idea of waiting, but the river has no urgency. It teaches that absence is temporary and that life continues along remembered paths. Water's memory is longer than human impatience. Even seasonal floods leave traces in dry beds. Sediment, stones, and organic matter remain after flow stops. Life uses these traces. Plants germinate. Animals forage. The river has distributed resources while appearing absent. It is shaping life and land invisibly. Absence is not emptiness. It is preparation, a quiet pause that allows intelligence to continue under the surface. Rivers that disappear remind us of hidden continuity. Even when unseen, water influences movement, growth, and survival. Dry beds are paths of memory. Life follows subtle curves and depressions. Sediment nourishes soil. Roots extend toward hidden moisture. Animals adjust their behavior. Humans unknowingly rely on these hidden guides. The river's absence is temporary, but its impact is permanent. Some rivers vanish only seasonally, yet their influence spans decades. Floodplains shaped by past flows still control vegetation patterns. Ancient meanders direct migration of animals and humans. Soil carries nutrients from centuries of movement. Life follows paths carved by water long before it disappeared. Absence is a form of planning, not emptiness. The river shapes even when unseen. Rivers that disappear are never truly gone. Memory remains in sediment, stones, banks, and life around the bed. When rain or snow returns, water follows old paths naturally. Life reactivates, guided by invisible patterns established long ago. Absence is temporary. The river continues its work quietly, teaching patience, resilience, and adaptation. Every empty bed is a reminder that water's influence endures, even when hidden from sight. Rivers have a final journey. They do not stop suddenly. When they reach the sea, something strange happens. Fresh water meets salt water, and for a brief moment they resist each other. Currents collide but do not mix immediately. There is a line, a boundary, a quiet tension. The river slows, but it does not end. It arrives and continues at the same time, stretching the sense of ending into something longer, more mysterious. The meeting point is alive with hidden motion. Beneath the surface, currents weave together. Salt water pushes upward, fresh water flows outward. Sediment carried for miles settles slowly at this boundary. Stones, sand, and silt accumulate, forming small islands, bars, and channels. Life adjusts. Fish move between fresh and salt. Birds hunt along shallow areas. Plants that tolerate both waters thrive. The river is both itself and part of the sea, resisting and merging simultaneously. Humans often think of endings as final, but rivers show that endings can be layered. The final boundary stretches. Time feels slower near it. Water is arriving, but its identity remains. Fresh water keeps its shape, speed, and memory for a little longer. Salt water pushes back, inviting change. Currents swirl in complex patterns. Sediment is distributed carefully, not hurriedly. The river's arrival is quiet, deliberate, and patient, a calm that is almost impossible to notice without paying close attention. The strange calm of rivers meeting the sea affects life nearby. Fish gather in the estuary, testing water before entering the salt. Crabs and mollusks adjust to rising tides. Birds circle, observing the patterns. Even humans notice something different here. The sound of water changes. Ripples are longer, slower. Reflections of light are fragmented. There is a sense of hesitation, as if the river is pausing to remember its journey before fully joining the sea. Sediment tells stories at this boundary. Tiny particles carried for hundreds of miles settle in shallow pools. Minerals and nutrients are released for life to use. Small rocks are polished again as currents meet. Channels form and disappear with tides. The river arranges its legacy, leaving messages for the next flow. Its arrival is not abrupt. It is a slow unfolding of motion, history, and memory. Fresh water resists, but it eventually merges, leaving both river and sea changed. The boundary stretches beyond sight. Estuaries are complex, wide, and shallow. Water weaves in many paths. Some currents move inland briefly, creating pockets of calm. Other currents push toward open water. Salinity changes minute by minute. Life adapts to subtle shifts. Trees and mangroves bend with the flow. Fish navigate with instinct. Every particle of sediment carries history. The river meets the sea, but it leaves behind memory as well as water. The arrival feels mysterious. Fresh water is not instantly lost. Its speed, clarity, and sediment create a visible presence for hours or miles. Salt water resists, holding its own mass and identity. Waves form slowly. Reflections break apart. Patterns emerge that last only moments. Observers notice calm, but the water is busy, negotiating boundaries in ways unseen. Arrival is not the same as ending. The river teaches patience, resistance, and quiet persistence at the edge of the known world. Human activity changes this meeting too. Dams, canals, and ports modify flow. Sediment accumulates differently. Currents slow or accelerate. The river adapts. Even when humans intervene, water still preserves memory. Fresh water resists salt, even if only for a few meters. Currents adjust. Life responds to these hidden tensions. The river's arrival at the sea is never exactly the same twice, yet it follows rules older than human planning. The river at the boundary teaches subtle persistence. Fresh water maintains its journey, carrying sediment, memory, and energy. Salt water pushes back, creating tension that shapes estuaries and nearby life. The slow mixing creates conditions for abundant growth. Fish, birds, and plants thrive in this uncertain balance. The river's arrival is both calm and full of motion. There is a quiet intelligence in how water negotiates the edge of land and sea. Light behaves differently here too. Reflections break across ripples, shadows stretch, and currents twist. The meeting point seems alive. Observers may notice sudden clarity in the water, then murky patterns as sediment shifts. Small waves break slowly. Currents curl beneath the surface unseen. The river is not rushing. It is negotiating, waiting, and releasing its cargo. Arrival without stopping is a mystery humans can sense but rarely understand fully. Rivers create life at their final boundary. Nutrients released from sediment feed estuaries. Small pools form for breeding. Mangroves, reeds, and other plants stabilize banks. Fish and crustaceans adapt to the gradual mix of fresh and salt. Birds follow these pockets of abundance. Even humans benefit from the quiet work of water. Arrival is more than water touching sea. It is the continuation of energy, memory, and life that has traveled miles unseen. The stretching of endings is subtle but profound. Currents slow. Fresh water resists salt. Sediment arranges itself. Life negotiates balance. Time seems longer. Water teaches that arrival does not require sudden change. It shows that boundaries are not sharp. The river's memory extends beyond banks, beyond visible flow, and into the sea. Observers may notice calm, but beneath the surface negotiation continues. Arrival is not end. It is transformation. Even in turbulent estuaries, the calm exists in pockets. Currents swirl around obstacles. Rocks, sand, and vegetation shape the flow. Small streams enter and leave, temporarily isolated. Sediment settles differently. Life follows patterns set by water. Fresh water meets salt, resists briefly, and eventually yields. The arrival is measured. Each particle, each ripple, each life form responds. There is mystery in this slow, deliberate process. The river's journey teaches something important. Endings are rarely final. Resistance may delay, but it does not prevent transformation. Water carries memory, energy, and sediment. Arrival is a process, not a single moment. Currents continue beneath the surface. Life adapts along boundaries. Even when humans see only calm, the river's negotiation continues invisibly. Arrival without stopping is a lesson in patience, persistence, and quiet intelligence. Salt and fresh water eventually merge. Currents blend, sediment spreads, and life continues. The river has reached its destination, but it remains part of the system, never losing memory or energy. Fish continue to move, nutrients continue to cycle, and the water remembers where it came from. The meeting point is both end and beginning. Arrival is quiet, mysterious, and full of unseen work. The strange calm at the sea teaches observers to pay attention. Patterns of flow, sediment, and life are subtle but real. Fresh water resists but eventually becomes part of something larger. Arrival is an ongoing process, not a conclusion. The river's memory, intelligence, and influence extend beyond its visible limits. Humans may see calm and think it is simple, but beneath, the river continues its work. Even when a river reaches the sea, water does not stop. It leaves the river's name behind, but movement continues. Some water evaporates, rising into clouds, forming mist or fog that drifts across mountains and plains. Some seeps into the earth, filling hidden underground channels, finding paths humans cannot follow. Streams become rivers again in distant lands. Water never ends. It continues quietly, invisibly, shaping life and land far from where it began. Rain is the river reborn. Clouds carry droplets over forests, deserts, and cities. Mountains receive the first touch, and water returns to land. Some rivers start again from tiny springs, barely noticed at first, yet carrying history from distant places. Every drop carries memory, sediment, minerals, and the path of long journeys. Life responds instantly, drawing from the invisible connection. Water moves unseen but always present, tracing patterns older than cities or empires. Rivers underground flow with their own rhythm. Caverns, limestone channels, and porous soil create hidden highways. Water navigates obstacles quietly, never stopping, always adjusting. Life adapts, following these hidden streams. Roots extend, animals dig, microbes thrive. Humans may see only a trickle above or dry soil, unaware of the network beneath. The river continues its work below, reshaping the unseen world in ways just as deliberate as the surface. Even clouds carry rivers in disguise. Moisture accumulates over oceans and plains, moving with wind and pressure. Rain falls in new places, feeding springs, lakes, and streams. Rivers start again where names change, but their energy is the same. Sediment travels, life reacts, and currents continue. The memory of previous flows remains, shaping the new path. Movement never ends. Water remembers everything it has carried, every bend, every stone, every obstacle. Some water travels slowly for decades underground. It moves through aquifers, cracks, and soil, unnoticed by humans. Each inch carries history. Life around these hidden rivers adapts. Trees reach deeper. Microbes flourish. Small mammals follow subtle moisture gradients. Even when humans dig wells or attempt to control the flow, water has its own memory and rhythm. It continues quietly, without recognition, outlasting human attention and measurement. Rivers that once were visible may disappear above ground, yet their work continues. Sediment is carried to lakes, trapped in marshes, or filtered into underground channels. Life continues along the patterns the river left behind. Seeds grow, roots spread, and small animals rely on hidden moisture. The river is not gone. It only moves into a form humans cannot easily see. Its energy, memory, and influence remain, tracing paths long after the name is lost. Even in clouds, water flows in secret. Tiny currents swirl in mist, fog, and dew. These hidden rivers feed forests, mountains, and plains. Water falls, then flows into streams, springs, and brooks. Rivers begin again, carrying the same essence but in new shapes. Life notices. Growth continues. Patterns repeat, slightly altered but always connected. The river is continuous, unseen yet alive, reminding the world that movement does not require a visible channel. Some water forms cycles that last centuries. Snow accumulates, melts, and feeds rivers which flow to seas, evaporate, and return again. Water is patient. Time bends around it. Mountains, plains, and valleys remember the course of centuries. Life has adapted to these cycles, relying on hidden currents, wet soil, and seasonal changes. Even when humans name a river, the water itself is older, wiser, and more patient than any label. Water that travels underground reaches distant springs, sometimes miles from the original river. Flow emerges quietly, forming brooks, creeks, or lakes. Life adapts instantly. Seeds germinate in the soil. Insects appear. Fish swim in hidden pools. The water carries the energy of past journeys, tracing memories across the land. Humans may not recognize the connection, but life does. The river never ends. It simply continues in new forms. Even lakes carry rivers within them. Inflowing streams bring currents, sediment, and nutrients. Water circulates below the surface, mixing, settling, and moving toward outlets that may not be obvious. Some water returns to rivers, others evaporate into clouds. Life responds to these hidden flows. Fish follow currents. Plants adapt to water depth. Microorganisms thrive in hidden pockets. The river's work continues, invisible, deliberate, and ongoing. Rainfall connects rivers across continents. Water that fell in one valley may feed a stream hundreds of miles away. Currents are invisible but connected. Life responds in distant forests, plains, and mountains. Animals drink. Plants grow. Humans harvest water unknowingly linked to distant rivers. The river's identity changes, but its energy and memory continue. Movement never stops. Water persists quietly, endlessly, in cycles too complex to track fully. Even when rivers are no longer called rivers, their influence persists. Underground channels, springs, lakes, wetlands, and clouds all carry fragments of memory. Life follows these invisible paths. Patterns established centuries ago continue to shape forests, plains, deserts, and mountains. Human perception may consider the river gone, but water itself continues. Its movement is constant, flowing in forms too subtle to name. Water is patient. It moves slowly underground, rises into clouds, falls in rain, or flows across land. Names are human, temporary. Rivers continue regardless. Sediment travels, currents adjust. Life responds. Every drop remembers past journeys. Memory and movement are intertwined. The river exists everywhere water flows. It is never truly gone. Even when unseen, it continues quietly, constantly, patiently, without a pause. Even when a river seems finished, water continues its work. Clouds carry moisture, rain feeds hidden streams, underground currents move silently. Life reacts to these hidden pathways. Trees root toward unseen water. Animals follow subtle moisture trails. Seeds germinate where water lingers. Human perception may miss this flow, but water never stops. It moves with patience, memory, and intelligence. The river continues always, everywhere, in forms beyond naming. Rivers remind humans that endings are illusions. Flow continues in clouds, rain, springs, lakes, and underground channels. Sediment, minerals, and memory travel with water, shaping life and land. Currents move quietly, adapting to obstacles and carrying the energy of centuries. Even when a river is no longer called a river, it continues. Life follows its subtle guidance. Movement persists, memory persists, water never ends. The river returns in cycles. Snow melts, rain falls, and springs appear. Currents reform, joining seas or lakes. Underground rivers feed life above. Life notices patterns invisible to the eye. Water flows, adapts, carries sediment, shapes land, and nourishes life. Humans may not see the connection, but it exists. The river never stops. It simply continues, hidden, mysterious, and endless. Water is still moving. Every drop remembers. Currents, sediment, and life respond. Names vanish. Flow persists. Life adapts. Clouds carry water, rain returns it, underground channels move it, and lakes store it. The river continues beyond perception. Memory, energy, and movement remain connected. Even when unseen, water is alive, shaping, teaching, and moving quietly, infinitely.